it's in that moment of waiting on God that a lot of things about you become revealed. But what the devil does is that he basically distracts you from the message that God is giving you in that season.
Just asking myself questions because I was waiting. I was like, I didn't ask for any of this. Why am I here? I was doing fine and everything. And then God started to tell me, that job you had, who gave it to you? Welcome back again to Thriving Daily
podcast, where we talk about everything that has to do with entrepreneurship,
motherhood,
relationships,
friendship,
and purpose.
Yes.
So today we really wanted to, check in on you guys, know how everybody's thriving, how are you holding up on that situation. And, we have a very topic that we know that a lot of people can relate to.
What to do while waiting. And when it seems that God is silent, like when we even wrote down that we're going to talk about this, it came from our own personal topics personal discussions. We were just like talking about things happening, how we are thriving really in life, and then it popped up because we had similar experiences. It was like, oh, while I was waiting for this answer, this is what I did. I sort of developed a spirit of that. I was like, that's a very good topic, what to do while waiting. Because a lot of people too might be in that same situation. And since we've both gone through it, it's important to talk about it so people going through it to know what to do.
The truth is that nobody really has it figured out. Everybody you see, like I keep saying this, like every single person you see walking the face of the earth has something they're dealing with. Some people are dealing with the loss of a loved one. Some people are dealing with answers about maybe a job you've been praying for. Some people are waiting on God for a child. Some people are waiting on God for a relationship. Some people are waiting on God for just answer to one thing or the other. Like everybody is waiting on God for something. And I feel that if we don't talk about this, a lot of people keep feeling like they are alone in the season where they are waiting, on God for something. But it takes me back to a lot of places in the Bible where people were basically like waiting on God, and it was almost as if God is not saying anything. I keep like one of the very stories about that I always like relate to a lot is the story of Abraham, having waited like literally like waited for 75 years asking God to give you a child. And I can't even begin to imagine what it was like, having so much faith, and every day you wake up, you're not seeing the answers, you're not seeing the results, and you keep hanging in there, like trusting God that, and a lot of times if you read the story very well, you see where it got to a point where his wife literally had to ask him to, sleep with someone else just so that they could, have a child. Exactly. So, I feel like situations to bring out certain parts of you or certain versions of you that you never even knew existed. Sometimes when you're faced with challenges, you see yourself thinking things that on a normal day you would never have thought about. Situations actually bring out a side of you that you never knew existed. So I wanted us to just dive deep into some of the very common areas that a lot of people, especially a lot of young people, are waiting on God. Like, what do you think are the most common or the most relatable period of waiting in like a typical, maybe someone who is within the ages of, let's just 20 to like maybe 50? What do you think is a very common thing that a lot of people in that age bracket relate to when it comes to waiting on God?
There are common things, and there are certain things that we might not know, because it's tailored to people, but they are very common things. So, in a nutshell, for me, waiting on God, sometimes, like, I never used to, like, let me say my 20s, I never knew what waiting on God was. In fact, I never waited for anything. Let me say I waited, but I never really knew what it was. So, when I graduated from like secondary school, which is high school here in Canada, going to college, I wrote the exam jam, right, that you write to get into school. And the first year I wrote it, I didn't pass, right? And I wrote it with my sister, right? And she passed and went to uni, right? So it was just me at home, right? And I went through a lot, like, because it was like most of my friends, even in school, you know how friends get your number and they call you, oh, I'm in University of Lagos, or I'm in this and that, and they're like, which school are you? You're like,
I'm at home.
So I even used to say, because I wrote University of Lagos then, and in my JAMB form, right? I used to say I'm in Unilag. What course? English. I just look for something, because I didn't want it to be like, oh, you're a failure and then you're home, right? I always hated that, right? But in that period of my waiting, I would call it my waiting, but I didn't know what it was. Now as I'm older, I know that was my waiting period, and my waiting period was for a reason, because that whole 1 year was when I found God myself before I went to college. And now, as I'm older, I now understand that the reason why I didn't go to school at that point was because if I had gotten Unilag that I wanted to go, if I had gone to school at that point, like,
we'll not be here.
Like, I don't want to call names, but we know, like, the popular people that, you know, put, like, I would have been on the other side of the entertainment space or the social space or anything, like maybe video vixen, because even when I entered school finally when I went to University of Nigeria, when I was in school, I still did some video vixen and everything, but it was more in a calculated calm way. I still did some modeling, but I modeled in a way with the mindset of God is, you know, there, you know, with that backing, with that transformed mind, you know. But if I had entered school with the mindset I had fresh out of high school, like I was about to go anything, I wanted to be Beyonce, I wanted to be this, I wanted to have my own reality TV show, I wanted to be on MTV Cribs, I wanted to be a host, so I was going to do anything at that point to get there. And that's why I wanted to get to Unilag, because they had, you know, talked about it like in school, in high school, that, you know, Unilag is the place if you wanted to go into entertainment, acting, all of that too. You know, Unilag was the place. So I set on my mind that, if I don't enter, I must enter. No, by hook or by crook, you know. So I started realizing as I'm older now that why that waiting period happened for me first was because I wasn't supposed to, you know, enter at that time. What God's plan was for my life, if I had entered at that time, it might have been derailed. It would not have, it might have come to pass, because God, it will still come to pass, but it might have taken me a long time. I won't be here, I won't be married, I won't have 3 kids. I know that, you know, because I know the mindset I had that time. Marriage, all those kind of things were not even in my books, right? So I now realized that was my waiting period. So that's my first waiting season or waiting period. But like I said, in my 20s, I never really knew anything about waiting period, waiting on God for a particular thing, praying for that thing, not seeing answers, you know, crickets. And some of the things I would say in my 20s that I waited on, which was like going to school. I feel like young people these days are impatient. Some people, some young people, not all, because I've met some that really know what they want. Maybe have gone through a season that I went through because I was like 17 or 16 when I went through that, because I just fresh out of high school. I was like 15 when I graduated from school, and then waiting, I was 16. So I was young, but I went to church one day and one preaching that the pastor preached like just hit me in a different path, and that was when they gave me a devotional. And I said in that devotion, I saw something in that devotional that hit me, and I was just alone in my room crying. And then I had a dream, and in that dream I saw me looking at a board in school, and I saw my name there. So it was as if that was the first time I had a vivid dream that was about something that was happening in my life. And I literally saw, that was before the results came out, I saw God, I saw them say, somebody came, I was looking for my name, I didn't see my name, my sister saw her name, and then somebody came and was like, come back next year, your name will be there next year, your name is on the list for next year, something like that. A guy came out and said, I was like, why is my name on this? Like, because it's not yet your time, there's your turn. I woke up, I told my mom the dream, and she prayed, but she was like, God forbid, maybe it's the devil that is trying to, you know, take your place, or you know reduce your time, or just make you wait. But there was something in me that just understood that it was waiting period. It was part of it was God showing me something, and there was something I needed to go. And now I know the reason. But as a young person, and even now seeing it, a lot of people are waiting to make money. to be rich. I know that's one of the things. We never had that problem growing up. We're not money conscious, but we were like goal oriented. Some sort of, I want to be this. Maybe I want to be a banker. I want to be an engineer. But it wasn't money focused for us that time. But now I notice, because even my brother is young, he's in that Gen Z space, and he tells me those things, right? I want to hammer, which is how we say we want to make money, in Nigeria. So it's I want to make money. They're waiting career. They're waiting on, maybe buying a home. They're waiting on a partner. Some people start really early that they want to marry early and everything, while some of these Gen Z people, like, they're not, it's not even on their table, so I feel like those are some of the things. One of the things I know is money, because I see that anxiety. I read a lot of comments. I see when someone says, oh, how I made 300k or 1 million a month, I see young people in that comment say, oh, let me know, tell me how, give me the tips and the tricks and all of that. So I feel like one of the important things is money. And then from like people in their 30s, 40s, I know is like having a partner, being settled down, married, and then I think late 30s they start finding, especially if they've been working 9 to 5 and not sort of been working in something they feel is like their divine calling. They start searching for, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing?
I also feel that somehow one of the very common waiting, or would I say one of the very common parts that people find themselves waiting is people who maybe eventually start a business, or people who go into a career, and you have already imagined, because before you start anything, you pretty much have already imagined and envisioned how everything is going to play out, how like you've imagined yourself, your first sale, all these things, but then all of a sudden that God called you to do that thing, and all of a sudden it's crickets, like not a word, nobody's saying anything. Or even when eventually things start picking up, some days it feels like everything is going fine, you're on fire. One day later, it's as if nothing, like literally. Then you start questioning yourself and wondering if really this is, what God called you to do, or if really this is even what you're supposed to be doing, or maybe you didn't even hear right. But then I feel that was part of the reason why when this topic came to us, I felt that it was really something that we needed to talk about, because just like Sophia said, a lot of people find themselves in that place where either you're waiting on God to change your finances, or you're waiting on God to just, transform your life, or you're waiting on God for a life partner. There is always something I feel that is very common in that season, and that is a lot of people losing themselves, losing God, or basically taking their eyes off of God, because the devil will bring you a lot of ideas. You've started that thing that God told you to do, or you're finally, trusting God because you know that He gave you a sign to do something. And each day it's almost like He's leaving you with signs that He's still there with you. Sometimes you just turn on the turn on social media, and there's a message that this message is for you, and stuff like that. But the issue is that you're still not seeing any answer, you're not still seeing anything work out. I feel like that is the season where a lot of people lose themselves, because it's really not like, I understand that it's not easy, but I always feel like it's in that moment of waiting on God that a lot of things about you become revealed. But what the devil does is that he basically distracts you from the message that God is giving you in that season. And I always say this, that in your waiting season, there's a lot of things that God expects you to do, right? There are some people that their waiting season is supposed to be when they are basically going to find who they are, right? Some people, their waiting season is that God is basically telling you that this version of you is not ready for that thing you're asking for. Some people, their waiting season is God, telling them, I want you to build your character, right? So it's just like somebody who is asking, God for a promotion at work, for example, people who do 9 to 5, and you find yourself praying for this promotion, and it's almost like every day they announce a promotion, they are promoting other people, they are not promoting you. It could be that God is basically looking at you and who you are in this season, and looking at the role and what is expected of someone who is on that level that you're hoping to get, and your character does not match that role. sometimes you ask yourself, why is God trying to teach me and leaving out the people who are basically living the way they are? There are some things that we do not have the answers to.
Yeah.
There are some things that no matter how we think about it, there's a reason God chose you. There was a time that this popular post was flying that, God, please, I'm not among the warriors. Don't put me
in your list of warriors for 2024. 2024. For 2025.
As funny as it is,
no matter what you say, your name will be number one on the list.
If that is what God has called.
And another thing is, I feel like sometimes when we pray, there's this song, I shared it on my social media recently, that there's this song that when I heard it, I said, no, I'm not singing this song.
Is it Refiner?
I know they sing it. I cannot. I can't be caught singing it. Do you know why? I never, like I said in the beginning, I never really experienced waiting. That year, school, all of that 1 year, I was still young. I hadn't, my walk with God was not deep as it is now. When I experienced waiting, right? Things mean different things to you. Before, I used to sing gospel songs, I used to sing inspirational songs, I used to sing those songs. Surface level. Now anything I sing, that's why secular music, I hardly listen to secular music. If I'm listening to secular music, you know that maybe it's an inspirational, motivational song. I pick the lyrics of the things I listen to. The lyrics, what I say, it has to mean something to me, because now my soul, my spirit, there's connection. The Holy Spirit dwells in me. Like, you know, I cannot be found in some kind of, you know. But when I experienced waiting, Refiner, but now I sing it and I stand.
You stand like, because you have been refined to an extent.
I'm like, now I know. I'm like, bring it on, fire, bring it, you know, that kind of thing. But in the beginning, when I heard it, and I think I heard it in like 2020.
So just in case you're wondering what song she's talking about, is Refiner by the Maverick City music.
Yeah, Maverick City, that has Stephanie.
Once you search Refiner Maverick City, you will think that
Refiner Maverick City. You know,
the lyrics are deep,
because the song says, purify. I want to be consumed. I want to be tried by fire. Purified. Take whatever you desire.
That song is
Lord, here's my life. Like, you know, and when I heard that song, because I had just come out of a waiting season. And that waiting season, I didn't ask for it. The funniest part is that when you pray a prayer that you say, God, I want to walk in my purpose, whatever you want me to do, you know, direct me, hold my hand, guide me. Those are the prayers I used to pray. I still pray them, but I'm like, hold my hand, guide me, whichever path I'm taking, I know that you're there with me, all of that. When you pray that prayer, I really didn't know the weight of the prayer, but I knew in my heart I wanted to align with God's purpose. I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And then it started spiraling. It was like I had a job, right? 9-to-5 job. I had a side hustle on the side that I wasn't really taking serious. And then you pray your quiet time. And then I started being able to distinguish the voice of God. I know when it's my thoughts, and I know when it's God. But in the waiting season, you would doubt. You would doubt that voice, and you'd be like, am I crazy? Was I the one talking to myself? Am I sure? So I just come out of a waiting season, and that waiting season, I didn't ask for it. I was just praying the prayer openly, honestly, like, God direct me and everything. And then I had quit the job. And then I had start this business. And then I had registered this business. And then I had this. And then I started it. At first it was crickets. And then I continued. And then the money was not matching up. And then I was tired. I was burnt out. Then I found I was pregnant.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I was okay where I was.
Why did you bring me here?
Why did you say I should go this route? I would have stayed where I was. I know what title I would have been in that company, how far I would have gone. I was making connections in a new city, you know, by myself. I was doing something. Are you sure it wasn't me talking to myself to quit the job? Or am I even not lazy? Maybe it was just me being lazy. I was just asking myself questions because I was waiting. I was like, I didn't ask for any of this. Why am I here? I was doing fine and everything, and then God had to tell me, that job you had, who gave it to you? the connections and the things and your character and your personality you feel moves the room, life of the party, makes things work, the creativity, the things you have, who gave it to you? Who made man's mouth? I remember that thing stays with me, Prince of Egypt, when I watched it, that Moses was saying, when God was saying go to Egypt, Moses was saying, I'm a stammerer, and then God shouted, said, who made man's mouth? Like, who made your mouth? Who made the speech that comes out of your mouth? Who made your saliva, your tongue, the things in your mouth that form speech? Who made it? So I'm sending you somewhere, you're thinking that you need something extra. I've given you, I've equipped you with everything. Go, you know. So it's same thing too. And that was in that waiting season. That was my point. Was like, if you say, okay, I'm learning to obey.
Yeah.
I'm learning to put one foot in front of the other. I can't even see the big picture. Right. Where I am now in my business and everything I've been able to do over a short period of time. If they told me I would have done projects like this, I would have done this, I would have earned the money I've earned. Clients would have paid me so much for my expertise, for my, creativity, for the skills and talent God gave me. If I go back to that girl in that waiting season, questioning herself in her closet, I would have said no.
No. Man. You know, the funny thing is that a lot of things that is a coincidence, really, like, because there are a lot of things that we have in common that when it happened to you, I didn't even know it was happening to you in that moment. And when it happened to me, you didn't know it was happening to me, because this is just like my story, which some people know, some people don't know. It's still just the same thing I experienced when God, like, literally made it clear to me that the season of you attending to your one-on-one clients, doing their makeup one-on-one in your studio and all of that season is over. I will never forget. I will never forget. I was on my couch. I was reading the Bible when that message came. First of all, I told myself that it can't be me. Oga, this is what I'm sure.
I must be hearing this.
I'm telling you that I was so sure that it wasn't God. Then I always will ask for confirmation. Literally every now and then, from that time till months later, every day was another message, It was almost like everywhere I'm running, God is chasing me with an arrow. Come back here.
You will see that, like, maybe you want sign. I will give you multiple
signs. And I remember the day that I finally accepted it. I cried. Do you know why I was crying? Because I am tired of being in that waiting season. I have tasted waiting season and I did not want to go back there. Literally, like, just like what you're saying. And the more I asked God, explain what you're saying. What is it? And I could hear messages where God is saying, I want you to serve nations. You can't serve nations by doing one. How many millions and billions of people are there on earth? If you keep doing one, you're not going to reach the people that I've created for you to serve. And I remember finally getting into that place where I'm like, okay, God, it's okay. I've heard. I'm not running anymore, because there's nowhere to run.
Yeah.
And I remember when I openly started telling my assistant that, okay, this is it, we're not taking clients anymore. I couldn't start explaining. But one of the things that bothered me the most in that period was, where am I supposed to get money from?
Like, that's your income.
That is your my income. I literally, like, my family, my husband has his role in the family, I have my role. I kept on asking God, where am I supposed to get my income from? And that still voice would always whisper, have you ever lacked anything? Have you ever lacked anything? Has there been anything that you really needed? It's a different thing if it's wants. Is there been anything that I know you needed that you lacked? And in my quiet time, I'm like, I actually have never lacked anything. And I started being honest with myself that God has actually blessed me to even be a blessing to other people in my own capacity.
Yeah.
So why am I allowing myself doubt God now? Why am I allowing the negative thoughts come now? Yeah. And I was just dissing you before we started filming how I asked God for a sign again, because I'm still in that waiting season.
Like,
I literally asked God for a sign. It wasn't up to 24 hours. An email came in. I was like, hi, Ginika, I want to work with you. And the truth about it is that every day, I cannot deny that I still find myself sometimes wondering, how God, okay, now, okay, what next? This is
What
taking
next?
time.
Yeah.
It's taking too long. How do I learn? You've made me have shut down what I was sure about, and now I'm here. What do I do next? But then I try as much as possible to constantly hold God to his promises. The truth is that God constantly reminds us that regardless of where you are, if for example you're asking God for a child, there was a time you prayed for a partner,
and you got a partner.
There was a time that you prayed for a job, you had a job. There was a time that you prayed for a roof over your head. There was a time you prayed for a better home. There was a time you prayed for something. Look back at God's track record. You will see that he has never failed. He didn't leave Daniel in the den. He didn't abandon Abraham and Sarah. He didn't abandon Hannah. He didn't abandon Ruth. There were so many people that God came through for. What makes you think that you will be the first person that will make God have the bad track record?
You have a track record of keeping your word.
He has never failed.
And you're not about to stop doing
it now.
Honestly, there's the thing is, if you've always been getting everything that you ask for, sometimes you don't even ask and you get it.
You get it.
I remember when growing up, when we were in school, some of our friends used to say, Sophie, there's this kind of favor and aura you have around you. Like everything you want, you just get. Sometimes you don't even ask. You just say, oh, I wish that.
And then a couple of days later it happens.
And that's always been like that. You know, I didn't even ask for a partner. I got married. I didn't even say child. You know,
so when God
pregnant.
now puts you
I
in
didn't even say, you know, so it was like God was like, everything you've been doing. When I moved to Canada, yes, I prayed for a job. I was doing my normal devotion and prayer, but I didn't like pray. I just prayed like, God, give me the one that you know you want from me. And it happened. Like, not even up to 1 month we moved here. I got a job, good paying job. They promoted me, everything was going. And then all those things was going rosary, and God now said, oh yeah, drop it. Oh yeah, drop it. Let me start the work. It was like everything has been going. You ask for this, you get. You don't even ask, you get. Smooth. Now to build you and mold you into the person where you're supposed to be, the person to walk in your purpose. That purpose is going to be bigger than your imagination, bigger than what you think. But in order to build and mold you, I need you to wait. And then in your waiting, I need you to be still and know that I am God.
Yes.
And then there was one particular Bible passage that God kept taking me to, is that, but those that wait on the Lord,
God,
shall renew their strength.
Oh, God.
They shall run.
Oh my
they
God.
They shall fly with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary.
Oh my God.
That was the Bible passage I was just going to. It was like, I've told you do this, and literally I'll be doing something. God said, "Oh, build your website this way, write the messaging this way." It was just telling me to do certain things. Like, what am I doing? So nobody's even clicking on that. But by the time, and then he told me to do one thing, to volunteer for something. There was something he told me to volunteer for. I was like, what am I volunteering for this? Like, me and this thing, this person I'm volunteering for, were like supposed to be like, I can't be volunteering under this person's stuff to work with this person. Like, we're supposed to be on the same level. I was like, no, I need you to go and serve, go and volunteer and serve under that. And then in that place, diligent, I said, God, if you said I should do, I'll do. I got my first ever highest paying client.
Wow.
Obedience. First. To today, like when I remember it, goosebumps, because the process of that, even when I told my husband I'm going to volunteer for this person just started a business, he was like, volunteer for free? Are they paying you? I was like, they're not paying.
It's always the question.
He said, did she ask you? He even said, did she call you and ask you to come and volunteer? I said, no, but God told me to. He said, how? Tell me the process. Wait. I just
said, doing what? What did this sound like?
I just said, this is what I had. He was like, okay, go. I trust you.
Wow.
And then when I got my highest paying client from there, and from that one person, I have gotten 10 more, and the pay has been doubled.
Oh my God.
The projects have been doubled, tripled, fourpled, everything from just that one obedience. So now I'm in a process, right, of trusting God without waiting for the results. Before, I was there waiting for the results. You say I should do this, okay, so that means I'm supposed to have many clients. That means the money's supposed to come. I'm supposed to have millions of dollars, money monthly and everything. But God, was still trying to teach me things. Even after those victories happened, there's certain waitings I still had to do. Because when he says, go to the next stage, now you're taking class 1-on-1. Now I need you to go to this next stage. I need you to expand here. I need you. I'm like, again, because it's more waiting.
Oh my God.
But now I'm in a mindset and a space where I'm not even looking for results.
Yeah.
And that, I feel like that's the best place to be when you're waiting on God. Right?
Yeah.
Just put one foot in front of the other, trusting in God that He will give you your daily bread. Because Jesus said it in the prayer. Everything Jesus did, He did with intention.
Yes.
It was like, your eyes on the prize, but pray every day. Give us our daily bread. So that thing that God knows you need, you will not lack it. Right? Not the thing you feel you need or whatever you want. You know what you need to survive, to get to that promised land, or to get to that thing God will give you. Today, me and my sister were talking about we saw one cartoon, I shared it on my story today, where the guy, somebody was holding him on a rope and he was walking on an empty space to cross to the other side. There was a big like gully or a big hole right in the middle, right? And he had to get to that side so that he could bring the bridge down so that his other friend would cross. And the friend was holding him. The friend was telling him, keep believing, one foot in front of the other. And he was stepping on nothing, on just earth with the big pit that he could fall into a hole. And he was stepping and stepping and stepping. And you know that all of a sudden, he got to there. The friend was like, the rope like loosened, and the friend was holding the rope, but he was still asking his friend. He wasn't looking back. Was like, are you still holding the rope? The friend was like, I got the rope. Like he was like, I got it on my hand, but it's not on you. But he was like, I got the rope. He was like, okay, I should keep going. He was like, oh my God, I'm not working on anything and I'm not falling. He almost got to the end, and the friend said, don't look back, keep going, don't look back. And he just looked back and saw his friend holding the rope. What? He just fell. He fell, but luckily he was close to the edge of the other side, so he just put his hand and then went over the ledge. And deep. My sister was like, this just reminds me of Peter when he was walking on water. And when God said, trust me, don't look down. And he was walking on water, solid. As soon as he looked down, he just started to sink. That is the same thing that happens when waiting.
Yeah, it's man. Like, let me change this battery.
Okay.
Down the blink before I go die on me. One of the like most challenging seasons of my life was like when Sonia was born. So she came at 31 weeks plus, and I remember vividly. I had fallen on the staircase, like. Summary of the story. I had fallen on the staircase and I was good. I mean, just had some back pain. I was 31 weeks plus, and then the next 2 days or so, I started to feel like I was sick. I was weak. Like my legs barely could carry me and everything. So my husband took me to the hospital, and in my mind, I was very sure that it was going to be normal. Check babies, just be sure that baby is doing okay, and they'll just maybe tell me that okay, 1 day, 2 days, I'll be fine. But that was not the case. I remember very well being on the bed, because I got to the hospital in the morning, but the longer we stayed in the hospital was the more I was not doing well. Like at the time I was really weak. They now started checking baby. Every time they monitored babies, had been like they had to place the baby on constant monitoring, but each time the heart rate of the baby was dropping. And I remember asking God in that moment, I said, God, I have been faithful. Like, I've tried my best. Like, there's nothing. And when the doctor started saying, oh, we have to do an emergency CS, I was so sure that it will not happen. I was like 100% sure that it can't be me. No, it can't be me. Like, we've like literally, when the moment I found out I was pregnant, I remember praying and covering the baby. Like, I was sure. I sowed my seed. I basically like consecrated the baby with prayers and everything. So I was so sure that this is okay, the temptation. And I remember they started saying, oh, there will be CS around 3 p.m. And my husband was like, oh babe, we need to start getting ready.
Make a decision.
In my mind, I was like, no, give me till midnight. They kept on insisting. For some reason, I just wanted to pray at midnight. The doctor, every time they would come back, the doctor even changed shifts. Another new doctor came. They said the same thing. I was hoping that one person would just come and say, okay, the heart rate is looking good. But it was not. And I remember praying so much. I prayed. I read my Bible. I read all the Psalms where I needed my faith to be, rekindled and everything. But I was, to my biggest surprise, I won't deny that I was actually surprised. the baby's heart rate was still dropping.
Yeah.
And I remember in that moment asking God, is it that you're not hearing me? Is it that you don't understand that I've had 2 babies normal delivery
way.
Now you want to put me in CS, not just because I did not want to have CS, but I knew I didn't have help, like physical help. I had my sisters, but they also have their hands full. I knew it wasn't going to be easy. My mom was not here. The
process of healing
with I have another infant at the time. Joey was not even 2.
Yeah.
So I had another infant, and I'm like, I want to just be able to at least do stuff after the delivery and all of that. But at that moment, I think my husband's aunts and uncle were around, but they were meant to leave. Like, there were a lot of things that were not in alignment based on my human eyes. And I remember eventually, long story short, somehow we were able to navigate to the midnight. I did my prayers, and then I had a bit of peace. I had some peace, and I felt, okay, if they say we should go ahead, we should go ahead. But I remember in that moment, while I was in the theater and everything, I remember vividly still asking God, I'm like, are you even hearing me? Are you even there? This baby doesn't deserve it. Because I've heard a lot of stories about babies going to NICU. Some of them don't survive a little bacterial infection and everything. And just one story that one very popular skit maker that used to do skits and everything. Recently, I don't follow him. Nigerian. Recently, I stumbled on his post where they've been posting pictures about their kid and everything. The wife was rather pregnant. They were posting pictures, like maternity shoot, did everything. Just for all of a sudden, woman went into labor at baby being 28 weeks or 26 weeks, thereabouts. Everything was going well. Baby was in the NICU, and just like that, baby had small bacterial infection. After some weeks, baby died. I remember watching this story. Not like 3 days. I cried so much because that was my fear. Because I was like, there's nothing that did not pass my mind. I'm like, God, I'm waiting on you to say something. I'm waiting on you to show me that you're here with me.
I'm testing my faith.
Praying. Do you understand? I tried. I was so sure. Like, I remember telling my husband, I said, babe, you need to have faith. And in my human mind, and now like human mind now, I look like a fool because it's not like he doesn't have faith, but we're all on different journeys.
Yes.
Right? But then I when I saw this story, it just reminded me how much God saved me,
you and
and I don't know why He allowed me go through that, And I remember it could have been worse. I remember when I eventually came through the whole this thing was at home. God told me, I want you to tell your testimony, and I'm like, oh, you did not even deliver me from what I asked you. You're telling me to go and do testimony. I will never forget that day. I was in the washroom. I was brushing. It came to me. Make sure you post your testimony. In my mind, I'm like, first of all, I don't even like posting my personal life. But you're telling me now to go and post testimony that I would have said my testimony is that yes, God did it.
God did it.
Eventually,
by
they said, go home. Midnight, they said,
heartbeat was okay.
Was okay, but that was not his story. I still went. I remember when I filmed it, I could barely even hold myself through the whole video. I would pause and go and cry because it was very emotional. The wound was still fresh and all of that. But the point of all of this is that looking back now, I don't know for sure why God, till now I still do not know why God put me through that. But if there's anything, it made me, weirdly, it made my faith in Him grow. I wouldn't tell you that it played out the way I had prayed it. I wouldn't tell you that, I will eventually everything worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
No. Now baby eventually, the worst part of the whole NICU situation was that I was not feeling well.
Yeah.
Remember, I
you had a bit of flu.
Yeah, I couldn't see baby for like 2 weeks, and it was the most horrible experience I've ever had, ever. So just having a baby, that moment where the baby is laid on your chest, I didn't have that. It was a horrible experience. But looking back now, I don't know how, but my faith in God grew. Somehow I remember being in theater and singing I Get Back, and literally that song held me through that season. I was shaking, when they inject you with that one that would numb your legs. I was literally vibrating. I couldn't hold. I was biting myself. I was shaking, but I could still murmur the words, I get back in, I get back in, I get back in. I don't know why, but when I look back now, I'm grateful that I went through that. I feel like some of the things that we go through, it's just like what we're talking about, how God said, like literally, like the popular post that was going around at the beginning of the year, people say, God, I don't want to be part of your strongest soldiers, warriors, you know. But the funny thing is that if God allowed you to be one of his warriors, it's because he knows you can carry through that task.
And he's with you.
He's with you.
Just like
that is the thing. He's with you.
Walk on this.
He's with you. The thing is that a lot of times we look at things from our human standpoint.
Yeah.
It looks like, oh, okay, everybody around you is progressing, only you. Everybody around you start a business, they're doing well, they're posting their customer list and all of those things. You don't have anything to post. And you're tempted to show a version that is not real. You're tempted to gather fake testimonial to just make you look like you're doing well. You know, we all have been there. There are a lot of times where I'm just tempted, like especially when I started doing influencing. I said, some days you'd be like, you want to be tempted to say, oh, you were gifted this in, I mean, while you bought it with your money. You know? But then God would be like, if only you knew where I'm taking you. This is not necessary.
It's not, you don't need it.
This is not necessary. You are going to somewhere that you will be tired of these things. You would have it so much that you will be tired. Like literally, like everyone going through something. If God has allowed you to go through that, and I keep saying it, sometimes your story is why another generation will stand.
Yeah.
If you do not experience that thing, if you did not go through that season where you literally had to quit your job and start a business that you had no idea what was going to come out of it, how are you equipped to talk to people about living, trusting God?
Now I'm in that space where God is preparing me to equip the next set of people that might be in that situation that I was in. New country, immigrants, having a vision and idea, trying to follow your divine calling or purpose. You have nowhere to turn, no mentor, nobody, no blueprints, nothing. It's just you standing in that gap. Like God is equipping me and I'm moving into that space. Now I'm moving into that space with confidence and faith that even if I cannot literally picture the light at the end of the tunnel, but I know it's there. Because I've seen it time and time again. And one thing I want people in waiting periods to understand is sometimes what you're going through to that waiting period, God is preparing you to numb your body. Literally, how I see it is that our human body, our human nature goes against, like, we anything that is going to be high risk for us. Our body literally stops it. It goes into that save mode, protect mode. It fights it. Anything that is not comfortable with us, it's not convenient, it's not like in our comfort zone, our body fights it. But when you're in that waiting season, you're at the point where you're like, I'm letting go of my own thoughts. I can't seem to do it by my own power. So now I'm leaving it to the power of God. It's sort of like an out of body moment, because you now break that thing that your body is trying to, that protect, that save, that control. You're breaking through it. That faith, that waiting season, that period is busting you out of that bubble. It's like, I want you to go beyond your imagination. I want you to go beyond what you've been told from when you were young. I want you to go beyond what you think about yourself, what society thinks about you, what the world thinks about your things, where you should be, what you should be doing, you know, where you should have been at 35, where you should have been, like, go beyond it. Break. So at that moment of busting out, just like a caterpillar, you know, becoming a butterfly, you're in that cocoon, but you need to bust out of it. And the process of busting out of it is going to be painful. And there's one thing I listened to Myron Golden, and he said, out of pain is the only place you can build legacy. It's the only place you can build wealth. It's the only place you can build legacy. If you're comfortable, if you're doing everything is going well, everything's going fine, you want this, you get it, you want this, you get it, you're never going to build that thing, that stamina that you're supposed to build for what you want. And especially when you ask for it. That's one thing I've noticed. The Bible said, ask and you shall find. Seek. So it might be just a normal prayer that you're praying. You don't know the extent or the depth of what you're asking for. Simple prayer. God, walk with me. I want to walk in my purpose. I want you to show me my pattern. Simple prayer.
Simple prayers.
But then it starts to spiral into your legacy. It starts to spiral into your destiny, and then you're thrown into the waiting season. Sometimes, like my own, I said I didn't ask for it, and I sort of found myself, but I asked in my prayer, right? But there are some people, like you said, it's a normal process of their life. I get married, I want a child, and then they're in that waiting season. If Sarah and Abraham didn't go through what they went through, people now will not use them as a yardstick
to trust,
right? People that are going through what they will not use them. That story will not be there to teach generations to come of how to have faith in God and how to trust in God no matter what, even down to the age of 90 or 100 or 99. You know, so I feel like you said, what you're going through now is so that other generations can be tied to it, can stand, can fight, can go through what the Israelites went through. It's a testimony. What Moses went through, testimony. What Joseph,
what David went through,
being sold and then becoming the highest ranking authority after Pharaoh, from being in prison, being a slave, right? So if those things didn't happen, right, we won't be talking about it now.
Today,
it won't be a one of the greatest feats or greatest stands for faith, for following purpose, for trusting God, for believing. I don't think we'll be here. I don't think we'll be believing that, oh, God really exists, or all of that too, right?
It's all those testimonies, all those stories that bettered most of the faith we have in God today.
Yes.
Because if you open the Word and you read, and sometimes you would even think, because just like you mentioned the story about Joseph, you will see how Joseph told, was it the wine presser or the baker, so one of them, the person that was in prison with him, and said, when you go there, please tell them to remember me. He went there and forgot him. He went there and forgot him, and you'll be tempted to ask, God, why? Like, this boy has been, he's even innocent. He's not even meant to be there in the first place. But one thing I find is that it's in the whole process of waiting, you need to never forget that God can never forget you. He has not abandoned you, because the circumstances and situations around you will make you feel like, okay, it's crickets. And it's worse in the world we are today. You open social media and you are looking at people talking about things, and you see so many things. People are moving on with their lives as if you don't even exist, as if everything is fine, you're the only one who's struggling. Also, amidst that, you see people who are even reminding you that this Christianity of a thing is scam. You people are just wasting your time,
because they don't serve God.
They don't serve God, and they're doing okay, and they would make posts every day, every single day. That is why, apart from even the word encouraging us to testify and talk, go back, testify and tell our story, like share your story. Also, that I feel that it's so important that people, after they have been through something and eventually God answered their prayer, do not keep quiet about it. More and more people need to remind themselves that God exists. More and more people need to know that God is God. Like, I know that yes, a lot of people don't want people knowing what they're
personal
what they're
life,
doing.
what
But
they went through.
Believe me when I tell you, when it comes to your testimony, do not hold it back. When it comes to your testimony, do not ever feel like, oh yeah, you're putting out too much. It doesn't have to be you carry a microphone and start talking. It could be in your church. It could be in your small friend gathering. Because each time you share, you are lending another person a reason, or giving another person a reason to trust God in their own waiting season. And I know that there are some people who have been waiting, and it's almost been like years. Maybe there are people who are basically trusting God for a life partner. Yours could be a life partner. Yours could be a child. Yours could be a job. Yours could be increase in your business. Yours could be a promotion at your job. Yours could be the healing of your loved one. The truth about it is that there are some things that we don't have control over. We only have to learn to know that the God we serve is a God that is faithful. His track record through and through has shown that he has never abandoned his people. He didn't abandon the Israelites. He didn't abandon Moses. He didn't abandon David. He didn't abandon Ruth. He didn't abandon Esther. He didn't abandon anyone who trusted and believed in him. So why would he start with you? While you're in the waiting season, I also believe that there are some things that God wants you to be doing.
Yes.
Right? One of the things that is like the biggest lesson in my own waiting season was God taught me how to control my temper. Right? Because there are times where I'm asking God for something and I could literally hear the Holy Spirit say, you're not ready yet.
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm like, I'm ready. My body's hot. But I could hear that still voice say, you're getting there, but you're not yet there.
Yeah.
You know, and one of the things also, you have to make room for the thing that you're asking for.
Yeah.
While you're, asking for God to do the miracle or to transform your life, make room for it.
Yeah.
Make room. Some of you need to clean out your house and remove all those things you're no longer using.
Yeah.
Some of you need to really believe, if you're trusting God for a life partner, be the person who is worthy of being someone's mother and wife. If you're trusting God for a child, use the opportunity while you're waiting to really groom yourself and understand what it takes to be a parent.
Yeah.
A lot of people go into all these things not being equipped.
Yeah.
And with their generations are being raised of people who literally are just misbehaving in the society.
Yeah.
Nobody has it figured out. But sometimes in your waiting season, God wants you to calm down, listen to him, and see the lessons that he's telling you to learn in that particular season.
One of the things that people should do when you're in your waiting season, and you will know when you're your waiting season,
you will know.
Especially as you get older, and especially as you search deeper and search for that deeper relationship with God, you start to realize the signs that you're waiting season. And one of the signs is like, it's something you're praying for, something that was supposed to come naturally, maybe the next stage of progression in a career or in a family or in a business and all that, it's not coming. And you keep praying for it, and crickets, you're not getting any answers. And I feel like one of the most important things to do in that season, in your period of waiting, do not remove your eyes from Jesus. Do not remove your eyes from the ball. Literally soak yourself in the word. It's going to be hard. It's going to be tough. If you need to cry there. Find a space where you can cry. If you say every night I'm taking my Bible, just find yourself in that space and soak yourself in the word. Because what you're doing is you're building your capacity for when that thing that you're waiting for eventually comes. Because trust me, it's going to come. It's definitely going to come. Soak yourself in the word, because most times I feel like when we're waiting on God and it's not coming, we now tend to go and do that thing in our own power,
our own way.
Or sometimes we just forget. We're like, you know what, it's not coming. I've tried this God thing. I've tried it, it's not working. I'm going to go do it my way. It might take 2 years, 3 years. You'll still be turned around back. You will come back to that waiting season. Trust me, that being still and know that I am God, and trust me, you will come back there. The only thing now that is going to do is that it's going to elongate the time that it would have taken you to get to where you're supposed to go. Because you will say, oh, I want to do it by my own power, by my own might. You go, you turn around and come back, and you still find God. And then when you come back, God will say, okay, now we're starting. I was listening to Vuzi. I listened to him. He's a popular speaker. I think he's from South Africa. He was talking about when he found God, how he was a popular finance expert, go and speak on shows and all of that too. And then, he had, I think in 2020, the pandemic, something happened, and those like some employers or whatever fired their staff, and he went into the building and was videoing them, and after that whole stint, he had backlash. He hit rock bottom, and it was like he always heard about God but wasn't serious about God. But at the point he hit rock bottom, God was in him, and God was telling him, what you've been doing before, you're just managing people and manager of it. Now I'm taking you to leadership. I'm teaching you to lead people, and now this is your tuition. That his waiting season was his tuition, that he heard a voice tell him, this is your tuition, this is the school fees now that you're paying, and you're going, welcome to leadership school, you're paying that tuition, and I'm taking you to where I want. Now look at him, everybody knows him after that. So it's in that waiting season, rest in God, only God. Don't take your eyes off God. It will never be easy. If you cannot even pray, if you cannot mutter words to form together to pray, sing songs, worship, listen to worship songs. if you don't have the fruit of the Holy Spirit, which is speaking in tongues, ask for that.
Yeah.
In that waiting season, sometimes speaking in tongues is all you have.
Yeah.
Worship and crying is all you have.
Yeah.
But when the signs start to happen, you will see. And another thing is, just like you said, you always say, like, when I'm waiting, I ask God for answers. Me, that's one thing I learned from my relationship with God. Reading my Bible and going back. Signs. I remember the first time I thought about signs, or the first time God showed me and opened and said, you can ask me for signs and I will give you, was in the Bible when Isaac was supposed to get married, and Abraham said, go to your in-laws place and everything, and go and find a wife and everything. And he said, God, the first person, when I reach there, the first person that agrees to give me water from the well, I know that's the person. And the Holy Spirit just opened my eyes. It was like, in your relationship with God, can you see how God had relationship with people of old? This is an example to tell you, in your waiting season, when that doubt comes, just ask me to give you a sign. I will give you a sign. And I want you to trust and have faith that is me and I'll be with you. I was like, he opened my eyes. I was like, wow, so I can ask you for a sign and you give me before. When you say give me a sign, you're like, am I testing God? But God said, no, I have put it in you. Ask me for a sign and I will give it to you.
Just so you know.
Just so you know it's me.
It's just like what we were talking about earlier on. Honestly, like, even for me, I feel also it's very important to find yourself, remind yourself also, or surround yourself with people who are like-minded. This is something that I feel a lot of young people do not do. A lot of people go through their own seasons alone. I know that these days, like, even true friendships, a lot of people don't really have people that they can call, oh, this is my friend, or this is my ride or die, that I can discuss certain things with. Find them in, like, there are so many groups now. I belong to one group, the Patreon group with Megan. There, a lot of people are there who, that's like a community. We're over 1,000 of us there, but we're like-minded. We don't know each other. A lot of them are in the States and in Canada. People are in different countries. But the point is that some people will just come and say, oh, hi guys, I'm going through this, and people are genuinely praying for you. You see under the comments, a lot of people will comment, oh, this is what I did in this season. You know that you're not alone. Do not isolate yourself in that waiting season. Make sure that you go back and, like I keep talking about this, filter the people you follow. Let the people you follow, because there's so many people now, whatever kind of content you want to find on social media, they are there. If you want content of people who are worshiping the devil, they are there. People who are doing tarot, what do they call it? Tarot reading or whatever, they are there. People who are talking about God, they are there. The issue is that you're not looking. And the thing about social media is that when you start searching, they will start recommending most of them to
God
you.
will even bring them.
Do you understand? They will come your way because you have to be the one thing about God is that God can never force you. It has to be he tells you what he wants you to do. He can never force you and drag you with rope and say,
he has given us free will.
Do you understand? It's you who has to decide, okay, I want to do this with God and everything. So I feel like in that season, as you're making room, one of the things I do, or when I started influencing while waiting on God for open doors in this new era of my life, if people sent me a free package, I would treat it as though it's a job.
Paid.
I would film the content the way. I would not say, oh, okay, this is free now, let's use any light and just film it anyhow. It's
whether
free.
it's dark or not, I don't care.
People will still view it. But I told myself, one thing I promised myself was that each one that comes my way, knowing where I want to be, knowing the bigger picture, I'm going to treat each one as though the big picture has come. You have to be ready. It's not when the thing comes that you're running helter-skelter, you're confused, you cannot handle it. And that is also where the enemy would now even use to now even bring you down more. So that is the thing, because as you're praying, God answers the prayer. But if you're not ready for that answer, the enemy will use it against you. The enemy will use it against you. Sometimes you ask God, we're talking about this the other day, sometimes you could be praying to God, okay, for example, you want a new house, and God is like, this girl is not ready. Let's even assume that God gives you that new house. The enemy could make that house to be an idol
to you,
that you literally almost worship this house without knowing. You're always there enjoying the view, doing all this, and you forget the moment when you didn't have that house. You forget how you used to make time early in the morning for God. So you need to understand that is the reason why it's important. Just like what Sophie said, you have to be ready. Find yourself in the word. Develop the habit of praying.
Soak yourself.
Develop the habit of worship. Develop the habit of reading the word. when it doesn't make sense, all those places in Kings, Chronicles, Nehemiah, read it.
That's your weapon.
Read it. Even if the story is not making sense, it's not sweet like story of Joseph. Read that one. Read it. And I always encourage people to buy those Bibles that have like translation that would kind of like have the section where it explains to you how this what you read relates to you as a person. That is like one of the kind of the Bibles I use. It helps me. Even when I read all those passages where I can't understand how this relates to my waiting now. You read that part, you find a way that there is a message in that for you. So I feel like this is like one thing I want you to really embrace this season, just like what Sophie has said. Make room for prayers. Do not let a day go by without you finding yourself asking, like, quiet time. It could be 5 minutes, it could be 10 minutes. God, what are you doing with me in this season? What is the lesson that you're teaching me in this season? What is the thing that I should look out for in this season? What are the things that you're showing me so that when the message comes to you, you don't miss it because you were not ready to receive it. Right.
And another thing is, while waiting, some people will wait and just not do anything. They'll just not, like, you hear God say maybe do this thing, build this thing. They're like, I'm waiting for that particular answer. I can't see it.
Or you will be doubting that it's God that
said it. Or I can't see it. I can't see the results. I'm just going to fold my hands and wait. No, you can't be. Because while waiting, keep putting one foot in front of the other. You're not just going to sit down, fold your hands and say, I'll do nothing till I get that result. No. While waiting, diligently keep doing that thing you're supposed to be doing. Keep asking God, what should I do in this waiting season? And God will give you direction. Do go here, do that. Literally,
obedience.
Steps. It will give you literal steps. And another thing, in your waiting season, sometimes God will shed things off. He will shed the things you don't need to be. And when he's shedding it off, it will be painful. Sometimes he's shedding off friends. He's shedding off things because you realize in your waiting season, everybody around you, it's almost like you're alone. Everybody around you, things are moving on for them. They're going. People that used to be your friend, they stop calling you, they stop inviting you for things, you stop going. You start wondering, you'll be like, you will start with your human mind, oh, maybe because I don't have money now, because I don't have a job here, because I don't have, yes, that might be the reason. But God is using that season to prune you and also shed those people that are not supposed to be there in your, I'm not saying God doesn't love company, doesn't love companionship, but there's sometimes you need to go on some journeys on your own. And then he needs to take you one step further to finding the right people that are going to propel you and align with you for that purpose. Why? Because they will amplify what God has put inside you. Not bring you down, not drain it, right? So sometimes in that season, when God is pruning and shedding things and they are losing friends, they are losing maybe events, brand deals,
the small money you're getting,
things they're supposed to get. In your mind, you're like, why, God? You said I should wait. I said yes. You said I should obey. I did this. You said I should say it like this. Don't say I'm doing it now. I'm losing money. I'm losing brand. I'm losing friends. No brand deals are coming. Nothing is like
the job that declining you.
Everything you're in that was like you've lost it all. Look at Job in the Bible, losing it all. You'll be like, why? You know. So at that point, you want to just leave and go and do it yourself, but God is shedding off things because you're going to the next thing. And that thing, you get it times two. Look at Job in the Bible. He got money times 2. Family, kids times
Abraham,
2.
father of all nations.
Everything
after not having a child.
Times 2. So it's like, if you can patiently, I'm talking to myself, you know, talking to you, like, patiently wait, because when it happens, it's not going to happen like the way you imagine it happen.
Right.
Sometimes when it happens, you will not even realize.
You will not realize.
Because you were not sitting waiting for the result. You won't realize. You'll not be like, wait though. Wait, it just happened. Wait, like
I didn't even know when it happened.
You're like, wait. Like it would just happen in the way that you least expected. Right? So when God is shedding off, don't be anxious. Don't be. It's okay. You'll be anxious sometimes. I mean, but don't be weary that I'm losing everything. I'm losing friends. I'm losing this. Just trust God. And in your waiting season, once you come out of that season, God,
you look back and you'll be glad you trusted.
Oh my God, you'll be 10 times better than you were. I've experienced it. I'm still experiencing it. I'm my growing patient of another stage, you know, of waiting and doing things, but when it comes,
well, like I mean, God will never fail. He has never failed. He will not start with you. And we really hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. We could go on and on, honestly, but we want to end it here. Please don't forget to leave a comment and let us know how or what you took out of this particular episode.